How you doing, guys? Welcome back to Coffee and Juice. So there's two things that are great in life, and maybe there's probably more than two. But number one's going to be when you're walking down the street, and all of a sudden you find a $100 bill, a $50 bill, or a $20 bill on the floor. And you look around like you care, but what you eventually do is you pick it up, and you put it in your pocket, and you do whatever you want to do with it. And the second best thing in life, in my opinion, is that you're walking in somehow randomly a empty gym parking lot, and on the floor, you find a box of HGH. Now, once again, this is not my HGH, and unfortunately, there's an individual who is looking to jump on some type of cycle, either anti-aging, or maybe he's a little juice monkey, and he wants to get tremendous like Nick Walker, or whatever it might be. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to look at this particular product that eventually I'm going to probably give to law enforcement or just throw it in the garbage, because I would never retain any product that wouldn't be prescribed to me. That's just not how I am. You know, I'm a law-abiding citizen. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at it step by step, and we're going to figure out if it's authentic or it's a fake. Now, keep in mind, they can fake any product, and a lot of things get faked out there in the market if you've been in the community for quite some time. And probably at the top of the list is that, is your HGH real, or is it bunk, or is it fake? So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go step by step, and we're going to try to figure out, with all these particular indicators that I'm aware of, is this real or is it fake? So stick around, and once again, we'll figure it out one way or the other. All right, so step number one in figuring out if your HGH is real. And usually what happens if they fake it, and the way that they try to get you, is that obviously there's human growth hormone, and then there's something called human chorionic gonadotropin. So once again, this is a lyophilized powder, which means that it's a crystallized powder that once it's activated with basoteric water, it becomes the product and it becomes usable. So what a lot of smart people do, and nefarious people do, because they want your money, is that they put HCG, which is a lot cheaper product. And is it available? Isn't available? It depends on where you are. I don't want to get into HCG right now, but what I'm trying to say is that it is a powder, a lyophilized powder of some sort that they put, and once again, it's going to mix it, and you're going to be under the impression that it's valid or authentic HGH. So now, the first thing you need to look at when you open up the box, it's like when they do these unboxings for anything, you have to have a keen eye to say, all right, this doesn't look right or doesn't feel right. And the reason why I say it doesn't feel right is the first thing you're going to look at is that there's going to be an instructional or an informational packet when it comes to any medication, and HGH is no different. So the first thing you're going to look at, and I'm going to show you a picture on the screen, is that there's a sticker, and the sticker has a certain coloring to it that only is attributed to a Pfizer product. So what we're going to be looking at today, and remember, every HGH brand is going to be different, and they fake them differently. But today we're going to be looking at Pfizer Genotropin 1236 kind of combination that they put it in the pen. So what I want to do right now is that I'm going to show you the paper, and what I'm going to do is this. So what this paper has, and this is going to be a dead giveaway, it's going to feel like a thicker tissue paper that you would use for packing during your holiday season. That's what it's going to feel like. That's what it's going to look like. Now, keep in mind, this particular product, as I looked at it on the floor, which was, I mean, what an incredible phenomenon this was to see. Once again, I'm in the tri-state area, catch me if you can, right? But what I'm trying to say is that this is from Turkey. So now the instructions should be in the Turkish language. So we got the tissue paper, we got the sticker, and we got the language of the country of origin. Okay, so that's going to be three things right off the bat when it comes to the paper or the informational packet regarding the HGH product, what happens to be Pfizer today. Once again, like I said, a random find. All right, so let's move on to the box itself. All right, so when it comes to the box itself, this is where things get a little tricky, and I'll explain to you why. So now when we look at the box, and I'm going to show you pictures on the screen because it'll be more suitable for your eye, and it'll be a little bit more educational regarding you figuring out things. So now when you look at the back, and I'm going to look at it right now. So now where does this GH come from? It comes from Germany. So now all of a sudden, if it's coming from somewhere else or produced somewhere else, we already got a red flag. That's going to be number one when it comes to this particular product. Number two is that the instructions or the writing on the box should be in the country of origin, which is Turkey at this particular moment. So now when we flip the box over, and once again, look up in your screen, it should have a certain coloring. Now, this is where I'm going to debate a guy, and I'll put you onto his channel. He speaks about HGH, and he's in Mexico. Okay, he has a clinic out there. I'm not related to the guy, but once again, I'm trying to inform you. And to me, this is, it is what it is. This is an easy one. This is a give me, but some of you delve into the world of HGH. So what it is that, number one, it should have Braille on the box. The reason why is that, for whatever reason, blind people, I guess, also gravitate to GH. Once again, I don't know why it has Braille on it, but that's just the construction on the box, and that's how they do it. But also there's a certain coloring that uniformly, normally, should be in a certain suit. But keep in mind, and this is my opinion, and I would have to deep dive a little bit further to say that if there's a Mexican GH versus a Turkish GH, is the coloring slightly different? Because you got to understand something. I'm a guy who also makes clothes at Strong Clothing, shameless plug, is that when it comes to something called Pantones, every Pantone on every digital printer, depending on the country, depending on the machine, can be slightly different regarding the hue or the coloring that they're using. So keep in mind, the coloring might be slightly different if it's produced in another country or it goes to another country. It all depends, in my opinion. To me, that's not going to be the dead giveaway unless it's something that, like, I'm showing you the colors and now they're so, like, it's a neon green, it's a purple, it's a pink, then you probably got a fake on your hands. All right. So now another thing that I would debate with this guy is that this particular Go Quick pen is 12 milligrams /ml. So now a lot of times people will indicate that it's a fake if it says 36 IUs. If it doesn't, if it deselects or does not present 36 IUs, automatically people think it's fake. But we would have to compare and contrast regarding country of origin, because this is the dilemma that you run into in this world, is that you got somebody in Turkey saying it's real, and then you got somebody in Mexico saying it's real. And it's not like the Hall of Justice or the Hall of Juice where everyone sits down in some type of dark corner and be like, hey, what's your GH look like? Listen, unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that in life, and you're going to have to figure out things, or you're going to have to deduce or make your own assumptions regarding if it's real or it's fake. So when we look at the box, we got the Braille, we got, the indications regarding how much is in the pen. And then what we could do, and this is something that's interesting, and I'm going to try to get you very close pictures so you can see. So there's going to be a barcode on when you open up the package on, initially it's going to be facing you. And then if you go to the other side of the box, I'll try to get it up there. Maybe you could see it. I don't know if you can actually, but so what it is that it's also going to have an expiration date. So there's an expiration date on the box. And then sometimes what you'll see, and I spoke about Pantones or coloring, is that they put the Pantones or coloring that were used to produce this box also on the opening flap regarding the box. All right, so now if we turn it around, there's a barcode and then there's a sticker with a 01 number and then something that's called a 21 number to reference if the pen has been produced legitimately or it has not. So obviously there's also a barcode on the back, and then you look at the box overall. What's the consistency of the cardboard? All right, so once again, sometimes if the cardboard is too hard, that could be a dead giveaway, or sometimes if it's too soft, that could be a giveaway. So there's little indicators throughout that may jump out at you. But once again, if you've never been on top of the product, and not that I'm going to digress for a little bit when it comes to fakes, but as an example, a fake Rolex or something called a clone. Some of them are so good. I'll give you an example. You can bring it to a jeweler. And number one, the question you got to ask yourself, a jeweler or a watchmaker, is he on top of Rolexes? I know I'm going off track here, but I want you to learn something. Is that when the only way that the guy might know is that if he opens up the back of the watch and he says, well, this is an A777 or whatever it might be, it's not an authentic Rolex movement, is the only way that some of them can know, because the facade that the watch and the weight that it gets put forward is so good these days, and a lot of them are produced overseas. That's going to be the issue with you finding out if it's real. Now, just to circle back to being on topic, is that when it comes to GH, think about how much GH costs. All right. So now when me, I'm always talking about money, is that if let's say you're a doctor, right? And you're in the United States and you order from a company, you're paying $600 for the pen. So now what are you charging your client? You're probably going to charge them $12.50. All right, because that's just a markup regarding either 5xing or 10xing somebody regarding making money. It's your return on your investment. All right. Once again, this isn't a business course. I'm not one of those guys. I made so much money and I didn't get out of bed today. That'll be my next commercial. But anyway, so look, when it comes now, we're going to move past the box and now we're going to look at the pen itself. So now all of a sudden, we look at the pen. All right. So now there's going to be indicators and there's going to be writings on the pen. All right, so now what we're going to look at there's an A, B, and a C on this particular product. And what I mean by that, I'm going to show you in the pictures, is that when you're mixing the product, that's something you want to look for is the authenticity of the stenciling regarding when it comes to the A, B, and C, because once again, when you mix it, all these things need to line up correctly for you to mix your HGH correct. All right, so now we also go down to where you're going to dose yourself. So me personally, I do a 0.3 or a 0.6, which is an anti-aging dose. I'm not a guy looking to be tremendous. I do it really for hair, skin, and nails. And it's part of the packaging regarding the fact that I'm almost 50 years old. And I feel it's something that you might want to implement. Obviously, I don't do this. This isn't even my pen. But I'm just talking out loud. That's something that I would do. And once again, I'm not a doctor. And this is just for educational, informational purposes only. So now as we look at another way that sometimes they fake the pens is that when you look at the adjustment dial, okay, what you're going to see is that sometimes what they do is that they put a overlap of numerics. So what you can do is you can try to play with the plastic and see if you can pull it down, because sometimes they play with that to make it like the pen, it might be an insulin pen or a different type of pen that they're copying. So during their production, this is what they do. So once again, you're going to see if the dial moves slowly or if it even moves correctly at all is another indicator. So now what I want to do is that if we look at the front of the pen, right, what you should have is you should have your expiration date. And on this one, what's amazing and that I found, it's from 2021 to 2024. So there's a three-year longevity when it comes to the pen regarding its storage. Now, obviously, once you crack one of these open, the argument is that it's pretty much good from 30 to 45 days, even though people will debate that, and it has to be refrigerated. It does not get put in the freezer, just so you know. All right, so now, once again, there's also a barcode, and you have, this one says genotropin 12 mgs, somatotropin, pre-filled Go Quick pen. So, and it also has another serial number on it. All right, so that's going to be, when you look at it, you'll see certain pens that looks like they magic market it on. Once again, when we get into typography or font, you're going to have to say, well, this is the real one, and then this is the compare and contrast of the fake, because once again, when it comes to typography or font, it could be slightly different if you don't have the numerics behind the font or the typography when you're creating just about anything. All right, so now that's going to be soup to nuts regarding is it authentic. But since you stuck around this long, I'm going to give you a pro tip. And what the pro tip's going to be, it's going to be regarding the needles that you use or you can use. Once again, I'm not a doctor, but if you're going to implement it, there's two that you can use. So I'm going to give you the pros and cons to each needle that you can implement, and it's subcutaneous or under the skin, usually given in the abdomen. I mean, obviously people get exotic, and if they want to cure their injuries, sometimes they do a site injection, but like I said, that's a conversation for another day. So you got a 4 millimeter and you got a 6 millimeter. So obviously I'm not that good at math, but you would have to assume that 6 millimeters is a longer needle that you would be injecting. Now, some use a needle phobic, and I get it, but the 4 millimeter is tiny. So all I'm trying to say is that a 6 millimeter might be a little better because there's better penetration, right? So what that means to you is that when you inject, this is a little bit deeper, which is better for you. And I'm sure that happens in other things that we talk about in life. And when you inject and you pull it out, do not pull it out right away like a dart. What you want to do is that you want to either counterclockwise or clockwise rotate the pen out of your body. Now, the reason why is because GH is like liquid gold. It's very, very pricey. So you don't want to, lose any of the little speckles of gold, so to speak, regarding the liquid format that it's in. So the way you're going to do it is you're going to leave it inside of your body for a little bit, and you're going to slowly corkscrew it out regarding your injection pattern or your injection style, which means you would be conserving your product, like I said, which is very, very expensive. So either a 4 millimeter or a 6 millimeter, and just offhand, I believe it's a 32 gauge regarding the needle itself. All right. So look, one thing, and just as an aside, I know a lot of people do UGL or underground laboratory products. Me personally, I'm under a doctor's care. It doesn't matter what country I'm in. I always, once again, it's cumbersome to have that kind of lifestyle, and it's a little expensive. But what I want to say is that if you're into health, wellness, longevity, anti-aging, and you're putting an unknown substance into your body, the dilemma you run into is inflammation. You could get very, very sick, or once again, you can die. I'm giving you a cautionary tale. And the tale I'll leave you with is an old tale, and it comes out of Brooklyn or Queens, because each Brooklyn or Queens kid will claim this story to be happening in their neighborhood. All right. So I'll give you a little Brooklyn, Queens story. So at the time, injectable Winstrol, we're going back 20 years. Injectable Winstrol was a thing. People used to use it. And if you know the consistency of injectable Winstrol, it looks like Armor All, or it's like a very milky looking substance regarding being an injectable. So what it is that street kids that are nefarious, or street pharmacists that don't care about you, what they did is they sold the kid legitimate Armor All. So what the kid did, he injected it. I don't know how much he injected it. And what happened is that he ended up dying. He got a heart attack and he died from this particular product. So all I want to leave you with is, once again, me, we got to keep it real. You're going to do what you're going to do, but do it safely. Look to source out authentic products. If you got to pay a little extra and you go to a TRT clinic, or once again, you're in another country, and always be guided by their laws, is that you have to realize, if you're someone who's into health, and I'm just going to reiterate this, and then I got things to do, all right, is that you need to look before you leap and say, you know what, I don't know if that's real, so maybe I'm not going to use it. Even though I bought it, maybe I'm going to try to source it out for real. So just be very, very careful with these underground products. And remember, when we dial back to the HGH, I would argue if there was a chart or a hierarchy, it's on the top of the list on what they fake. Okay, so look, coffee and juice, I hope you got something out of it. I'm not a doctor, educational, informational purposes only. So look, if you're gonna juice, be under a doctor's care, all right? Don't be fucking stupid, all right?